Welcome back to BNC Live. I'm Laverne McGee. Joining us once again is Orange County, Florida Mayor Jerry Demings. He's a trailblazer, an example of black excellence, having been elected as the first African-American sheriff of Orange County before becoming mayor. Thanks for sticking with us, Mayor. I want to get right to it and ask you about your years before you were mayor as sheriff, because right now we are seeing such high crime in America. What do you think is causing this?
Well, we're at a crossroads here in America as it relates to police community relations. I spent 38 years in law enforcement. I also served as the first African American police chief here in Orlando. And so during my period of time, I certainly saw periods of call for reform amongst our American policing agencies. And I think that during the pandemic last year and with the death or the murder of George Floyd, it really exacerbated the relationships across America because of television. People were able to see what occurred and some of the injustices across America. So now is a good time. I'm comfortable with where I am now as a mayor because I get to make broad public policies about how we can deal with systemic racism and institutionalize some of the change that is necessary. At the same time, I do have a healthy respect for the job that law enforcement officers do. It's a risky, dangerous job. Finding the right balance where they are responsive to the communities that they serve, I believe that that requires the agencies to be reflective of the diversity of the communities that they serve. And so it creates a bit of a challenge, I think, to get good, brave men and women who represent the broad diasporas of the different cultures here in America. But we are improving here in the Central Florida area and have instituted broad changes within how we fund housing and healthcare initiatives, as well as education and other social issues here within our community.
Speaking of funding, are you okay with defunding the police?
Let me tell you, I think that's an ingredient for failure because of my many years of policing many different communities. But certainly when we talk about communities of color, those are the communities that really demand and deserve to have the best policing anywhere because oftentimes because of systemic racism, they have high levels of crime. It doesn't mean that everyone who lives in those communities are engaged in criminal behavior because that's certainly not the case. I'm a product of a community, a low income community, but I had hard working blue collar parents who raised me to get an education, and I've been able to live the American dream. So has my wife, who has a similar background, who now serves in the United States House of Representatives. But I believe that when we have been the heads of various law enforcement agencies, we have been in a better place to be able to effectuate the type of change in policies and training and hiring and supervision that is necessary to have the type of desired outcomes one will have. And that is low rates of use of force on anyone within the community, but certainly people of color.
Mayor, I do want to get back to your better half, if I can call her that. You mentioned her. She is Congresswoman Val Demings, of course, and she's also former law enforcement. She's actually running for office again, running against Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Can you tell us about that? And also tell us about that in relation to this whole issue of voting rights in America. We're seeing a battle here over making sure that minorities and everybody's voice is heard when it comes to voting. So talk about your wife's run for office.
It is important that every person, every demographic in our nation has the opportunity to have their voices heard. And one way to ensure that is to elect people who represent the broad diasporas that I mentioned. My wife is a hard charger. She's a go-getter. She leads with both her heart and her mind. As a former Orlando police chief herself, a member of Congress serving in her third term now, she is running for the United States House of Senate, actually. She serves in the House, but she's running for the U.S. Senate at this point in Florida. I believe that she's going to be a formidable opponent. My wife is doing extraordinarily well. Of course, you've probably seen some of the write-ups about her, but She has been able to raise funds across the entire nation from all 50 states. Last count, over 110,000 different persons had contributed to her campaign because she has proven through her performance within Congress that she is a person that can represent all Americans. And that's what we need from the people who will serve in both chambers, in the Senate and in the House.
That's a tough race she's running, but she's highly regarded. She was on the short list of potential vice president candidates under President Joe Biden. Do you think that this time, a black woman, that this is her time? Do you think that Florida is ready for this type of leadership?
There's no question Florida is ready for it. We are people of faith, and we believe that what is for you is for you. And while my wife was vetted for a vice president, she was not selected. But that's okay because she was reelected in the United States House of Representatives, representing Florida's Congressional District 10. So that's not bad at all. What I will tell you is that if she were running against me, I would be really concerned because she's going to bring her A game every day. And I believe that she has the competency, the experience, and the intellect to be able to step into the role of a United States Senator and do well. She is well suited for Washington, D.C. And so I look forward to this coming year and helping to support her as she travels throughout the state of Florida and really throughout the nation as she has to raise a significant amount of funds in order to run a viable campaign. Certainly within the first 3 to 4 weeks of the campaign, she outpaced her opponent. That sends a message that people are willing to invest in her campaign, and I believe that that's something that we can look forward to.
Mayor, I know you'll be running as well. I don't know how the two of you do it, having the both of you dealing with politics at the same time. That's got to be tough. And you are Democrats in a red state. Tell me about your position in terms of running and why voting rights is so important for you also.
Voting rights is important to all of us because that's the only way that we have a fighting chance at equality in America. So voting does matter. And unfortunately, in this partisan environment that we find ourselves in, sometimes people want the advantage by denying Americans the right to vote. That's a basic right for our people. Of course, people of color, there have been times when women and people of color were denied the right to vote. And so we have to stand up for America because that is what makes the United States of America truly one of the greatest nations in the world, is the fact that we want equal, just voting opportunities here within our country. Yes, I will be running for re-election in 2022 myself, but it'll be probably the fifth time that my wife and I have been on the ballot at the same time. So we work through all of that. We are a family of service, and so we love serving our community, and we look forward to the challenge of campaigning. I look forward to, as much as I can, supporting my wife as she moves throughout the state of Florida, campaigning to be the next senator from the state of Florida.
Well, both of you certainly a shining example of Black excellence. We appreciate your time. Good luck to both of you, and you are both always welcome here on BNC.
Thank you, Laverne, for inviting me tonight. Godspeed to you and your family.
All right, take care. Thanks again. And stay with us, everyone. We have more news coming up after this quick break. You're watching BNC.